Norman Lear is a living legend. He might just be the most influential figure in the world of network television, especially sitcoms. Throughout his 70-plus years working as a television and film writer and producer, the New Haven, Connecticut-born centenarian has produced, written, developed, or created more than 100 shows, many of which are considered to be among the best TV offerings of all time. The peak of his career was arguably in the 70s, when he created shows like All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, Good Times, and One Day at a Time. But in the decades that have passed since that groundbreaking era, Lear has continued to actively produce television shows, including the Emmy Award-winning remake of One Day at a Time, which hit Netflix in 2017, and most recently, the 2022 reboot of Good Times. Lear has also devoted much of his life to political activism. Throughout his body of work, you can see how Lear's social and political views have influenced his shows. Join us as we discuss Norman's recent announcement that's been creating quite a buzz. Norman and Brent Miller plan on recreating Maude's abortion episode. With Roe v. Wade recently being overturned, the abortion debate has never been more intense. Norman Lear has never shied away from weighing in on touchy issues like abortion. With the state of politics these days, there's never been a better time to recreate his famous Maude abortion episode. The original aired in 1972 in November, just 2 months after Roe v. Wade made abortion legal throughout America. The two-parter Maude's Dilemma saw the titular character, played by the late Bea Arthur, facing a quandary as to what she should do after discovering she's pregnant at age 47. Maude eventually decided, after much internal debate, to have an abortion. At the time, this plot was quite racy. In fact, such a storyline has been remarkably rare on TV in the last half-century, despite abortion becoming much more commonplace after Roe became the law of the land. Lear believes that such a tale needs to be told again, only this time through a modern lens. Talking to Variety in July of 2022, he questioned what the reaction would be to a retelling of that narrative in the context of today. Lear acknowledged that there only ever will be one Bea Arthur, but even though she's no longer with us, he realizes the importance of Maude's approach to storytelling. He mentioned as well he's excited to see what somebody else will make of Arthur's character. Lear's longtime producing partner Brent Miller feels like it's now time to revisit the episode on ABC's Live in Front of a Studio Audience event, which, alongside producer Jimmy Kimmel, has previously remade classic episodes of Lear's The Facts of Life, The Jeffersons, Different Strokes, All in the Family, and Good Times. Miller was quoted by Variety as saying he thinks the world is ready for them to give Maude's Dilemma a similar remake treatment. Miller and Lear first met when Brent joined Sony a little over half a decade ago. Miller was well aware of Lear's groundbreaking work in the last 50 years, and the two immediately hit it off. They've since worked on numerous projects together. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Norman thinks Archie Bunker likely would have been a Trump voter. All in the Family's Archie Bunker, played by Carroll O'Connor, who was known for being a bigoted yet beloved family man. Speaking to the New York Times shortly after celebrating his 100th birthday, Lear opined that Archie probably would have been on Team Trump if he were around today. He went on to express that the January 6th attack on the Capitol and the House investigation into the former president's alleged role in it might have elicited a strong reaction by a hypothetically Trump-supporting Archie. Lear wrote that the sight of the American flag being used to assault Capitol police officers would have sickened the immensely patriotic Bunker. Norman further expressed his hope that the resolve shown by Representatives Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney to expose the truth would have earned Archie's respect. This wasn't the first time, however, that Lear talked about Archie's relation to Trump. In 2017, he told the Daily Beast that Trump is shrewd in a way that Bunker never was, but Archie was far wiser in heart. In Lear's New York Times piece, he noted that Archie, despite his flaws, deeply loved his country and family, even when he was being called out for his ignorance and bigotry. Norman doesn't want to quit working. Shortly before celebrating his big 100th birthday, Lear attended a health and wellness event presented by CNN called the Life Itself Conference. There he addressed the audience by revealing some of his secrets to living as long as he has. Apparently, the secret sauce that's helped him reach such a ripe old age consists of a diet of bagels and lox coupled with his love for his family, laughter, and his invigorating work. He said he loves getting up in the morning always with something on his mind, something he can work on to some conclusion. Even after reaching 100, Lear has showed no signs of slowing down. At 95, Lear, alongside Jimmy Kimmel, produced and hosted 3 episodes of the ABC show live in front of a studio audience. That project was honored with Emmys in 2019 and 2020. Since then, he's been working on reboots of some of his most iconic 70s sitcoms, such as One Day at a Time. When pressed to reveal another secret to his longevity, Lear said his views towards stress have always been unconventional, yet tremendously beneficial to his well-being. Even back in the 70s, when he was working on so many different demanding projects, he viewed this period of his life as being full of what he calls joyful stress. According to Norman, regardless of how stressful your life can be, it's important to accept it joyfully. Just because you're stressed doesn't mean you can't also be having a good time while experiencing levels of deep satisfaction and fulfillment. Norman is currently working on 23 projects. Lear told People magazine he plans to continue working well beyond his 100th birthday. People quoted him as saying he still explodes with joy, excitement, interest, and delight each time he drives to the studio. Entertaining people is in his blood. At the moment, Lear and Brent Miller have 23 projects in development. A few of these include a reboot of Who's the Boss, starring Tony Danza and Alyssa Milano, and a planned Good Times animated series slated to premiere on Netflix in the next year or so. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite Norman Lear show of all time? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Factsverse as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Factsverse, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Factsverse or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.